Okay, I have three different pedal assemblies for you. This is a manual pedal assembly from a 2004 Mustang GT. This is a brake pedal from a 1998 Crown Victoria. And this is the pedal assembly from the car we're working on, a 2010 Crown Victoria P7B. So I just kind of want to go over the differences, and also for my own reasons. I was curious, well, why can't I just put this pedal assembly in there, you know? Well, I think we're about to identify why. So let me get you set up on the tripod here, and we'll kind of go over the differences. There. That should work pretty good, I think. All right, now let's start with the Mustang. Actually, let's put the Mustang to the side. I went to the junkyard and I got this pedal assembly. I think I paid like $12 or something for the pedal. Let's see if the bolt patterns match up. They do. I don't know if you can see, but I'm telling you from what I can see, the bolt patterns are the same. So this technically should bolt against the Firewall. Even though it's a 98, it should still bolt. Here, if we align the bottom holes, you can see that the top surface aligns as well. So we have a 10mm bolt that goes through here on the 98, and we have a 10mm bolt that goes through, I think it was this one. There's two holes, but I think it was this one on the 2010. So the reason I went to the junkyard was because my goal was, let me leave this one unmodified. Let me leave it bone stock. That way, if I ever wanted to put them back in, I could. I don't know why I would, but that's how I operate. Sometimes I just want to leave everything original. So, plus this one has the power pedals on it, and I don't think that it would work exactly for what we're looking for. I want to give credit to a guy named Pierre. I've never met the guy. I've never spoken to him, but I have seen his videos on YouTube, and I've read a bunch of his forum posts on crownvic.net. And I think he's from Canada, and he actually makes pedal assemblies, and he sells them through a company called ADTR Alpha Delta Thomas Robert.net. And you can buy a bolt-in assembly for about $500. I think it's like $4.95, something like that. So I have the ability, I have a welder, I have the parts, I have the know-how to make one myself. So I figured, let me spend the $500 on something else like the tuner I need or something. But if you don't have a welder and you don't have that type of ability, it is available for about $500. You have to bite the bullet and do it. But so I think my original plan here will still work, because we're going to lose our power pedal feature, because this is a 98 pedal and it doesn't have the little, cable driven actuator. This one does. This is your power. This is the motor that drives the, I really hope you can see this. Yeah, you can. This is the motor that drives the power pedals. But what I've done to prepare for this little video is I've taken these are T25 screws. I think there's supposed to be 3, but mine only has 2. Yours might have 3. There's one down here. And then you slide this down and it comes off. So this is what we need. This we're going to just put in our parts bin. So we need to make a bracket that will adapt these 3 bolts to these 3 bolts that bolted to the Firewall. So that's the fabrication we're going to have to do. And so this is the gas pedal. So we'll kind of put that to the side. We'll use that later. But now let's compare. Now that we know that the bolt patterns are the same on the 98 to the 2010, let's compare the bolt patterns on the Mustang. I see 2 differences already. This is flat. The Mustang is not. The Mustang has an offset, so the Firewall and the Mustang must have a different jog in it, as you can see. So that's number 1, going to present us a problem. Number 2, let me take our bolt patterns and try and match them up. And I can see right now that they don't. It's a totally different pattern. Same height. Two of them are the same height. So the bolt patterns are different, so that can't really be used. So I think what my plan is going to be, and I'm going to think about this a little bit longer, and I'm going to get back to you on it. But like I said, Pierre, if you just go on YouTube, I think his YouTube name is P71C1. P like Peter, 71, C like Charlie, 1. I think that's his username on YouTube, and he's got a couple videos on how he makes his pedal assemblies. So, but I just wanted to kind of go over the differences between a Mustang, a car without power pedals, which is this is the 98, and I think this was the same up through 2003. So I think my original plan will be the same. Put this one in the parts bin, keep it for later, and I think I'm gonna make another pedal video when it's time to actually make the pedals. I just kind of wanted to go over it just briefly now. So that's all. All right, we're back downstairs. Gonna work on the pedals now. So it's raining outside, which is a perfect time for us to do. Well, there's our opinion nut. Time for us to do pedals. So, as I kind of mentioned before, I'm gonna follow along with what Pierre did on his YouTube videos, and it'll just kind of be another video of what he's done, except I'm going to show like exactly what I did, and kind of a step-by-step, and it'll just kind of be like a secondary video to Pierre's video. So here's the brake and gas pedal out of the car, the 2010. So we're gonna kind of put that to the side and work on these two. So this is the 04 Mustang pedal assembly, and this is a 1998 Crown Vic pedal from the junkyard. So the first thing I want to do is disassemble this. So I'm gonna take this nut off, take the quadrant out, slide the shaft out, keep the two bushings, and then I'm gonna cut the weld. There's a weld right here on this tube, and then there's another weld right there on this tube, and I want to save this tube. So I want to try and keep this tube as nice a shape as possible and get it out of there. So that's what I'm going to work on first. So this nut is an 18. Gotta put a new wheel on. This one's too small. What we want, and I cut a little bit deep there. I'll hit that with I'll fill that in with some filler wire and smooth it out. But the bore is clean, which is important. So now I'll put this to the side, back you up here so you can see. I'm just going to keep cleaning up that shaft. Okay, so now we're back to the Mustang pedal assembly, and what we're going to do is from this edge, so this would be the top, the top of the pedal box off the Mustang. What we want to do is take some of this meat, some of this metal, and we're going to use it as a reinforcement plate. So from this edge you measure 2 inches. So I got 2 inches, and I drew a line with a Sharpie, and 2 inches line with a Sharpie, and then we're going to take our speed square and draw another line, and then we're going to go down the side as well. So we're gonna kind of come tangent with the hole or the tube we just took out. And then on the other side, looks like there's a little connector in our way. So let me get that out. Everybody always picks on me. How come you keep your tools in the basement, not in the garage? Well, because I'm gonna have to go out to the garage and get the tools, right? So now I'm going to use the cutoff wheel, cut that piece out. And then we're going to go straight down to the tube. So get out our Sharpie again. I'm going to go tangent with the tube with the hole. Something like that. And here's the same thing. That. So here's the piece we cut. We don't want this part, so I'm going to cut that part off. Pay attention to what I'm doing here. Don't want to mess this up. Okay, here's our reinforcement plate. You can see it's kind of spot welded. There's two plates spot welded, so I might take the TIG welder and weld these up nice and strong. So before I do that, let me switch to the other bit, or other wheel, and we'll kind of smooth everything out. Up and down. So I've got to be careful here. Alright. You know what? Probably not a good idea to be welding with a massive hole in my pants, right? Alright, Alright, so I got the reinforcement plate all set, so now what I'm going to do, we're going to have to weld to this, so I'm just going to clean it up with the wire wheel real quick. Alright, so here's video say from this edge we're going to mount that plate 2.4 inches. So I'm going to set my calipers to 2.4. Alright, so I've got it placed 2.4 inches, you know, from this edge to here. So I'm just going to tack it in. Maybe a tack here, and tack here and here. And I've got it so that it's centered because this edge and this edge are touching right there and there. So I'm going to tack it there and there as well. So. Alright, it's tacked. Now we have to weld in our tube. So we're going to check the dimensions of that real quick and tack in our tube. Okay, so I put the shaft through the tube with the bushings, and I found out that this on the clutch pedal, this little, you know where that switch was? This little what should I call that? Pin hits right here. So I'm gonna we don't need that anyway, so I'm just gonna cut the weld, or I could just cut that pin right off. And also this thing, I don't know what the hell that's for, but I'm gonna cut that off too. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Okay, so I've got the clutch. I took that little pin off, and I remounted it. So we got the quadrant on there, and I just took the pad off the old pedal, and it almost hits, but it clears. So I'm gonna mock this up on the. Doesn't that look kind of silly? You got a wide pad with a clutch pad, but anyway. So I'm gonna just put this in the car and see if it all clears and if it makes sense. All right, so we're in the car, and you can see that, oh no, my tack weld broke, god damn it. But anyway, it works. So the only thing is, when you try and press the clutch, the quadrant hits one of the gas pedal studs. Alright, that one. So Pierre says in his video we have to trim that, so it's only about, I think he says 3/4 of an inch long, so that makes sense why we have to trim that. So, but other than that, everything looks like it's gonna work. That hole lines up. You can see that there's two. The one on the left was the one that came with the 2010 pedal box. The one on the right, luckily, is there for the 1998 pedal box, which is what this is. And so I think before I break that completely off, I'm gonna take it apart and tack it up a little bit stronger. But I think that will work. That should work just fine. And now we got to drill a hole in the. Whoops! Got to drill a hole in the firewall. Maybe I'll get rid of some of this insulation and stuff too. But that looks like it's going to work for what we're trying to do here. So I got this back in the basement again. I've lined up my. That's my tack weld that broke. So I just lined it back up, and now I'm just gonna, you know, tack it back there, and maybe in a few spots around here, so this tube is a little bit more rigidly mounted in there, so we can finish mocking this up. So I'm just gonna tack that in a little bit better. So to cut that brake pad off, all I'm going to do is grind out this area. Where's my hammer? Where's my hammer? That's my hammer. Alright. So another thing Pierre shows is that we have a square hole up here, but to get the pedal shorter, we want to make this hole square. So to do that, what I'm going to do, get the calipers and get the clutch pedal, quadrant thing, and I'm going to measure the diameter of the square width. 0.528. 525. So if I drill a 1/2 inch hole, yeah, that would be fine. That would just be inscribed in here. Yeah, so I could just do a 1/2 inch diameter hole. Well, you see what I'm doing. I got to keep going. So I was doing 525 diagonal, but really it's got to be 525 square. So I got a lot more filing to do. So let me work on that. All right. So what I did, I'm almost there, is I took a 1/2 inch drive extension, and that, I mean, it's too small, but at least gave me the square I want. And you can see that that it's kind of going this way and this way. So I just kind of put it in there and just translated it down to that hole. Traced it with a Sharpie, and seems to be getting me there. If you guys want to see something funny, keep watching. Try that. There we go. So now we've got our clutch pedal height. I think that's all I'm going to do for the day. I'm kind of tired and dirty. I'm gonna research a little bit more about this switch, and then I'll work on it some more tomorrow. So that's it for today. Okay, it's the next day, and I've had some time to think about it, and I think I've got a little bit of a plan here as far as this brake light switch is concerned. So I think we may have already gone over this, but just to clear up any misunderstandings or make this clear, I just wanted to go over it again in a little bit more detail. In the research I've done on this swap and information I've read, it all seems, not all, but a lot of the information, most of the information is on the older cars, the pre-05, the pre-Drive By Wire, the pre-electronic pedals, and pre-2005 cars. So I have a 2010 car, so I have all that stuff. So there's just seems to be a little bit less information out there regarding that. So I kind of wanted to cover that a little bit more, and I'm kind of learning as I go here. But this is the brake light switch that came with this pedal box, and this pedal box is off the 98, and this is just a simple 2-wire. And if I had a older car, like 04 or older, I would just instead of using this, and I'll go over why we can't do this in a second, but I would just use, just like Pierre shows in his video. I think that this is the ABS switch, the one that goes in there, and then I would just kind of maybe drill a hole. And if you look in here, you can see that there's like that kind of paddle welded onto the brake pedal lever that actuates the switch. So I would just kind of weld a little tab on the left side of the pedal arm, pedal lever and have just a plunger switch, and it would be, you know, when the pedal's all the way up, it would be normally open, and then when you to press the pedal, it would, you know, the switch would close and do your brake lights, and you'd be done. And you can't use this switch or this switch, and this is the switch off the car I'm working on. This would be an 05 or later switch. It's got 5 wires instead of 2. So you can't use that because it clips in here. It's got an open side and a solid side. The open side faces, you know, the pedal arm, and you would just kind of loop it up and slide it on, and then it goes with the connector facing down. And with it installed in the vehicle, a side view, you know, the firewall will be on the left. You can see that my new clutch bracket is it's hitting it, you know, so my brakes are half applied already, and that's just not going to work. And Pierre kind of identified that, but I'm just kind of showing it to you in this video. So the same thing would happen here. You know, it would be mounted something like that, and it would actually even be worse. So with this connector, so you need to come up with a different connector. Sorry, switch, not, well, connector and switch. This is the connector on there. So you need to come up with a different switch entirely. What I've done is I've opened this switch up, and I kind of have examined it, and it's just kind of together right now, but it's not clipped together. But there's a clip there, and there's a clip there, and there's a clip there. So you just take a small screwdriver and gently pry that apart, and this cover will lift off like that. And if you look, you can see the pole lock cover, pins 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here inside the switch, and this is a purely mechanical switch, you have pins 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's a spring. You can see the spring that kind of bottoms out on the plastic housing, and then there are various. It looks like only 2. It's this. Where's my? I'll use my multimeter as a pointer. The black one I'll use. Let me just sit down. So it seems like the only 2 that move is this one. So this would be pin 4, and this one. So this would be pin 2. And you can see that that's the case because we've got these 2 black little holders, and these two black little holders that kind of encapsulate these 2 contacts. And let me get you set up in the vise, and we'll go over kind of how this works. Okay, so I have my multimeter just set on continuity mode, so when you touch the 2 leads together, it just beeps. See? So we're going to check for continuity. So what I've got here is just a 1/4 inch extension, and it's hitting the plunger. So when we're going to simulate applying the brakes. So right now I just have this barely in the vise, very loose. So the brakes are off right now. But if I gently tighten the vise, you'll see that those 2 plungers, the plunger moved and those 2 contacts moved. So I'll loosen it, brakes off, brakes on, brakes off, brakes on, brakes off, brakes on. So with the brakes off, we have, so pin 1 with the cover, we'll put the cover back, well, just place it here. That's how it would go, and pin 1 is closest to us, and pin 5 is farthest away. So pin 1 and 2 are open with the brakes off, and then when you apply the brakes, you can see that pin 2 touches pin 1, and we now have continuity. So the way it works in the vehicle is pin 1 is a solid red, which is incoming 12 volts, and then pin 2 is a green with a red stripe. So that's your brake lights. So if you just wanted to do a simple 2-wire switch, like a plunger style, all you would do is you would have it pins 1 and 2 connect to that switch, and you would have a normally open switch for your brake lights, and then when the button is pressed, it would connect the two, and your brake lights would come on, kind of a thing, and you'd call it a day. So that's the brake lights. So brake on, brake off, and now they're no longer touching. These three, I'm pretty sure, are for the cruise control. And with the brakes off, the brakes are off. Let me get this a little bit better. With the brakes off, you have pins 5 and 4 that touch. And you can see that there's literally nothing in here. So pins 1 and 2 are totally separate from 3, 4, and 5. So there's kind of two switches going on inside this one black switch. But so now that we've covered the brake light circuit, let's cover these three. So with the brakes off, pins 4 and 5 touch. Brakes now on, so these two no longer touch, but these two do. So with the brakes on, pins 4 and 3 touch. So, so that's kind of what we got going on here. This side is easy, but we have to come up with a way to simulate this. These three pins 3, 4, 5. So now we have to figure out a solution to get this to work. So I need to think about that a little bit more, but that's essentially how 05 plus brake switch is functioning and working. And I'm going to get a little bit more thought into how to get these 3 pins to still work with a modified brake. So that's that part, and I'll get back to you in a few minutes. I think I worked out a solution to this, and it's going to have to be later because I had to order some parts, but how did we have this set up? Just like this. So this switch, and we'll go over this later, but just a quick review, preview, I guess. This switch for the brake lights would be a single pole, single throw, so SPST switch, because there's 2 wires, and it's a single throw, so it's just, it only controls 2 wires. And then this one would be single pole double throw, because there's 3 wires, and a double would mean, this middle wire is essentially controlling this one or this one, so it's got a double throw, and so I ordered just a push button, and then as well as a double throw switch. And what I'm going to do is I took the brake pedal back out, and this switch I think is for the ABS, and then I'm just going to weld kind of a plate here, and that way I'll be able to mount my 2 switches on the pedal box. I could probably use this hole, and then I'll just drill another hole down here, and then I'll have my 2 switches, and one will be for the brake lights, and the other one will be to maintain the cruise ability. And we'll have to cut the connector off for this switch and pay attention to which wires are which. We already know which 2 go on this side, the red and the green with the red stripe. So the other 3 we'll have to pay attention to where it goes to where, but we'll go over that in a later video. But right now I'm just going to get that welded on there. Okay, so I've got it just jigged up here with the magnet. Make sure it's straight, which is good. Okay. Gas on. Maybe Monday I'll go get some more fuel, or argon, because I'm running really low. Okay, so forgive me, the sun is right in my eyes, so I can't really see what I'm shooting at, but I've got the pedals test fit in the car. Hang on. There we go. Pedals are test fit in the car, and you can kind of see how it would look. There's the clutch, and then the brake pad we still have to modify, but it seems to be fitting. There's the quadrant in there, and as we talked about before, I trimmed this stud way back. You can't really see it, but maybe if I push the clutch, you see that stud right there? I had to trim it. And a trick that I learned is you put the nut on the stud, and that way when you cut it, you kind of booger up the ends of the threads, so when you take the nut off, it kind of smushes the threads back into place, and it's easier to get the nut back on there. So, but I've got it in, so now my next step, clutch in, clutch out, is to remove this insulation stuff. So I think I'm just going to take a razor, and from like the top corner of the brake box, you know, there, well, that's the bottom corner, but there's a top corner up there, yeah. From the top corner, and then kind of go over to these studs, just kind of cut that rectangular section out, and that way I'll have access to the firewall. And then we're gonna kind of operating upside down here, but then we can kind of take a straight edge on top of this quadrant and go across to the firewall and kind of mark where I want to drill it. Maybe I'll take like a hammer and a punch and just dimple the firewall and see on the other side in the engine bay where it's going to come out. So that's what I'm going to work on next. And just one more thing I wanted to note. I was worried about this. When we make the pedal box, when you put this reinforcement plate on, remember how we cut this section out of the Mustang pedal box as a reinforcement plate? When we put it on, the pedal hits it, you know, because the spring in the pedal causes it to come up farther. And I was worried that, well, is it going to mount on there because this plate's in the way now, even though this pedal is touching it? But with it installed, and with you can see the master cylinder rod, it was right there. So it is hooked up, and with it hooked up, we clear. So you don't have to worry about that. You can follow Pierre's videos and just weld it directly on the Crown Vic pedal box, and it'll clear, because the pedal has to be depressed some in order for it to engage the pin to engage the master cylinder brake booster. So I just wanted to make that note. Okay, I got some of the mat cut out. I took this little spacer off. Don't forget that that's in there, and it says top, and the part that says top faces you, and those little standoffs face the firewall. So put that back on, and then I'm going to put the pedals back in and show you what it looks like. Alright, so I got the pedals. I kind of like having it like that because I can just pull on the pedal, the brake pedal up, and it kind of pulls the master cylinder and everything into alignment. So anyway, so there's I kind of cleared out the firewall. Oh, those are the gas pedal connectors. So I kind of cleared out room for those two studs, and then there's the third stud way in the back there, the one I had to trim. There it is there. You can see it right behind right there. I don't know why it's so hard for me to do that, but anyway. And then so then I've kind of, you can see where I kind of scraped up the firewall there with the utility knife, but I think right about there is where the hole's going to end up. So we're going to, quadrant is going to go straight to that, I think is about where it's going to be. But before I do that, let me show you the quadrant. And this actually is not the quadrant that I bought. This kind of came with the used pedal. So the previous, this came out of I assume a wrecked Mustang or something from eBay. So I assume the previous owner of this Mustang put a quadrant in, which is cool, but I bought a brand new quadrant and cable and everything from BBK, so I'll show that to you. Alright, so this will be the fourth run. Damn it.